Hello everyone, good morning class. How are you today?
Hello, what?
Hello everyone, how are you doing today? I am wearing a tie-dye t-shirt, so I am doing fantastic. Also, this is a tie-dye t-shirt that I stole from my boyfriend, so the crime makes it even more enjoyable, I guess. My name is Shay Beecham. If you are new here, welcome. If you are returning, welcome back. I'm so glad you came back. How are you? How was your week? How is your life? As I just said, my name is Shay Beecham. I started a YouTube channel because who the hell do I think I am? I just like to sit down in front of the camera and do my makeup. But last video I uploaded, I tried this new idea, which I liked to call beauty time with true crime. So I'm gonna do that again today. That's right, another true crime story coming at you today. I had a bunch of people tell me after I uploaded my last video that they absolutely loved me talking about true crime while I was doing my makeup, and that makes me really happy, and I'm glad that some of you liked it. So I really enjoy doing it, so why the hell would I not do it again? Also, fun fact, not really a fun fact, I hope the sound quality sounds a little bit better, and maybe you can tell because I bought myself my very first ever external microphone. It's not like a super fancy schmancy microphone, but I'm trying to slowly up the quality of my YouTube videos so they seem more profesh. Can you tell the difference? Does this sound like ASMR? Can you tell that I have a new microphone? I'm speaking directly into the microphone. I just had a whole bowl of vegetable soup and it was so filling and it was so good, and now that my food is settling, I feel like I could lay down and take a nap, but I am fighting that urge. Fighting the urge! Actually, I still had a little bit left in my bowl, so I'm kinda snacking on it. So anyway, enough nonsense for the intro of this video. Let's just go ahead and dive on into the video. Just like all the cool YouTubers say, if you really enjoy this video, if you like it, if you are interested in true crime, if you like makeup, please do your girl a solid and just go ahead and click the subscribe button. Let's get into the video. Another true crime story, beauty time with true crime. Whoa! Okay, so in my last video, we talked about my Treese Richardson, and what an aggravating mystery story that was, am I right? I do want to say real quick, I want to kind of verbally say a disclaimer. The details in today's story is going to be a little bit more intense and graphic than my last story. I am going to describe kind of slightly gruesome details of the crime that's about to happen. So if you're someone that just doesn't really like hearing squirmy stuff like that, or, you know, details of a crime scene really disgust you, I would not recommend watching. Oh, also PSS. Everything that I'm going to be using on my face, I am going to link in the description box below. I'm going to link them in the order that I'm using them, just so in case if maybe possibly you're interested in the product, you want to purchase it yourself, you want to go see what it is, you can do that. I will provide that for you, okay? Okay, so today we are going to be talking about the case of Rebecca Zahau. So, Rebecca was born March 15th, 1979. She was a Pisces. We have a Pisces today. She is a Burmese immigrant, and she was born one of 6 children. She was born in a place called Phalam. I hope I'm saying that right. It's a small town in this place called Chin Hills. And Rebecca, just like in the last story, Rebecca here was a very smart cookie. She spoke multiple languages and she lived in many countries. I think because she lived in many countries, that's probably the reason. She spoke multiple languages. She was described as always happy, always smiling, and her sister describes her mostly. Her sister described her as a health nut. Rebecca was super into taking care of herself, eating healthy. Rebecca's sister said that she had quite the discipline when it came to eating healthy, which I cannot relate. Rebecca's sister said that Rebecca would never drink alcohol. She claimed that it just wasn't good for you. It was a waste of calories. Her sister said that she would have a protein shake before she would have a glass of alcohol. Again, can't relate. Her sister also said the most important thing about Rebecca was her kindness and warm personality. She said that Rebecca would take the clothes off her back and give it to you if she thought you needed it. So, by the time Rebecca was 32, she was living in Arizona. And while she was living in Arizona, she was working at an eye doctor's office. While she was working at this doctor's office in Arizona, one day a gentleman by the name of Jonah Shacknai came into the doctor's office. I'm guessing to get his eyes checked. Like, I'm pretty sure he had an eye doctor appointment. You think, Shay? I'm sure he was there for a vet appointment or something. And you guessed it, this is the man that Rebecca starts a relationship with. Who would have thought the eye doctor place was a place for romance? So, Jonah Shacknai. At the time he met Rebecca, he was 54 years old. Now remember, she was 32. So, like, not judging. Whatever. You can date an older man. It's fine. But some people do take note that he was kind of a great deal older than her. Mr. Jonah here, he was actually a very wealthy man. Okay, let me tell you, he had some money. He was the CEO of his own pharmaceutical company, and at this pharmaceutical, I'm 6 years old. At this pharmaceutical company, the most that they sold, really what they did was something called Restylane. Basically, it's cosmetic filler, Botox. So yeah, because he owned this pharmaceutical company, he was a self-made billionaire. His main residence was in Arizona, so I think that's why he was in Arizona and met Rebecca at the eye doctor. But it says he vacationed a lot. I think he like half lived there at this Spreckel's mansion in Coronado, California. Before Jonah met Rebecca, he was married before and now he's divorced. He was married before to a woman named Dina. He divorced Dina in 2008. So because he was previously married, Jonah already had 5 children. One of them being a young 6-year-old boy, his youngest son, named Max. The 6-year-old boy will become important, okay? Bear with me. Now, it was said that when Rebecca met Jonah and kind of started dating him, she basically pretty much put her entire life on hold for him. And from Arizona, she moved to the Spreckels mansion in Coronado, California. Not everybody really approved or liked Rebecca and Jonah's relationship. I'm pretty sure Rebecca's family was slightly just like kind of indifferent. Jonah had 2 teenage children. Both of these teenage children, for whatever reason, they did not really like Rebecca. They didn't get along with Rebecca. They didn't like their dad dating her. This was so much of a problem, in fact, that Rebecca actually spoke with Jonah and was considering kind of taking a break in their relationship. The responsibility of taking care of Max, the youngest, for some reason mostly fell on Rebecca, and Max and Rebecca really had a great relationship. Max absolutely adored Rebecca. He always wanted her to be the one to make his lunch, her to be the one to read him his bedtime stories at night, you know, that kind of thing. Rebecca's sister claims that Jonah and Rebecca's relationship was just extremely strange. It almost seemed like Rebecca was a glorified maid. She said that you would never really see Jonah and Rebecca being like affectionate and playful towards one another. You know how you act in a relationship. They weren't really the couple that like kissed and played around and showed a lot lot of affection. She said that if you saw Rebecca and Jonah in the same room, you would never even suspect that they were a couple. So, again, they move into the Spreckels mansion, right? This Spreckels mansion is, well, it's a mansion in California, so as you can imagine, it's absolutely beautiful. It's right on the water, and apparently it has 10 bedrooms and 11 bathrooms, in case you were wondering. So, we arrived to the date of July 11th, 2011. Rebecca is at the mansion. Jonah's not there. And one of Rebecca's sisters is visiting. And along with Rebecca and her sister at the mansion is Max. Rebecca's watching Max. I don't know if I said that. So Rebecca's sister is in the bathroom because she's about to take a shower. And Rebecca is also in the bathroom. I don't know if she was in the same bathroom. I thought it was kind of weird when I read it. And then I was like, oh, wait a second. There's 11 damn bathrooms in this mansion. So I'm guessing she was in a different bathroom. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Rebecca just hears this super loud crash. So when she hears this loud crash, Rebecca's like, oh my god, what the tits was that? And she comes running out of the bathroom into like the main area. And in the main area, she sees Max on the floor, injured. And he's injured pretty badly. No one in the house witnessed exactly what happened to Max. What we do know is that Max somehow took a very nasty fall from the second story balcony and fell onto the first floor. Near him was his scooter. So since nobody actually saw the fall, it's very much believed that he was riding his scooter on the second story in the hallway and somehow fell off of the scooter and over the banister. Max was found with fractured facial bones and a spinal cord injury. Poor little Max. Now, not on top of him, but kind of near Max's body was the chandelier that was hanging up over the first floor. Somehow that chandelier had fallen. Rebecca reports that when she ran up to Max, he was still conscious, and he was saying the word ocean. It actually does make sense if he was saying the word ocean because Ocean was the name of their dog. Rebecca told this little fact to the first responders that arrived. The first responders reported that they did hear Rebecca saying, oh my god, Dina's gonna kill me. And remember, Dina is the real mom of Max. When Max was being transported to the hospital, he was not conscious, so many people question Rebecca saying that he was conscious whenever she found him. Many people have many questions as to how exactly Max fell off the balcony. Now, this hallway, Max was known for playing in this area of the house quite often. He usually played with his soccer ball. Since he had his scooter on top of him when he fell, many people believe that he was riding his scooter in the hallway and the dog, Ocean, came running over, knocked him off of his scooter, somehow managed to grab the chandelier on his way down as he was falling. And then others believe that there's no way in hell that this theory can be possible. Max's mother, Dina, she ended up eventually hiring a private firm to really look into and investigate how her son fell. So this private firm, they concluded that Max's center of gravity was just far too low to the ground for him to actually go over the railing. They also concluded that the shag carpeting that was in the hallway, it would have prevented Max from going at a speed where if he was knocked over on his scooter, he would have went over the railing. Max had no cuts on his hands or anything, so they also concluded that it is not possible that he grabbed the chandelier as he was falling over. And this private firm, they could not exactly replicate how Max fell over the balcony. So therefore, they concluded that foul play had to have been involved, which me personally, I find it slightly suspicious that the private firm that the mother hires to figure out how he fell over concludes that, oh, nope, somebody did this to him. You know, do you get what I'm saying? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? I don't know. I don't know. When the scooter was examined, it did have white scuff marks and dents and scratches, and these scuff marks and dents and scratches, they seemed to line up perfectly with scratches and dents and scuff marks on the railing. So, you know, this leads to the theory that Max was just riding his scooter, trying to ride it on the railing and fell. Probably grabbed the chandelier as he was going down. The police investigators, not Dina's firm, they believe that this is what happened, and they believe it was just a terrible accident. Which, I mean, if you kind of think about it, it makes a lot of sense. Me personally, that's what I think happened. He probably saw some type of movie or cool video or something, you know, where like people ride those scooters on railings and like shred and stuff. He probably was unsupervised, thought he could do something like that because he's 6, thought it would be totally rad, and tried to do it, and unfortunately took a really fatally nasty fall. Poor Max was transported to a local children's hospital, and he was placed in ICU as soon as he got there. Both Dina and Jonah, they just never left his side while he was in the hospital. They were always right there with Max. So Dina, the mother, her twin sister Nina flew in to kind of be there with her sister through this difficult time, and Rebecca went to the airport to pick Nina up. Nina reported that when she came and picked her up and, you know, was driving her, she felt that Rebecca was acting super strange. Nina said that when she asked Rebecca what happened, Rebecca kind of was beating around the bush and not really giving her a straight answer as to what happened. Now, who even knows if what Nina is saying is true? Am I right? Because, I mean, I don't know. I always keep in mind that I don't think this family particularly liked Rebecca, but that doesn't mean anything. It's just kind of something I keep in the back of my mind. So now we have come to July 12th, 2011. Jonah's little brother also flew out to be with Jonah during this difficult time, and his name is Adam. Adam has spent the past 12 years as a tugboat pilot. By this point, Max was on life support, but he was stable and he was showing signs of possible improvement. So the evening of July 12th, 2011, after being at the hospital pretty much all day, Rebecca, Jonah, and Adam go back to the Spreckels mansion for the evening. They have dinner, and after dinner, Jonah goes back to the hospital, you know, to be next to Max. He does not want to leave Max's side, and Rebecca and Adam stay back at the mansion. Now, the mansion has a guest house, so the guest house is where Adam is going to be staying. Adam reported that he went to the guest house, took an Ambien, which is a sleeping pill, and he passed out around 8 p.m. Now comes the day of July 13th, 2011. Could I put any more concealer on my face? At approximately 6:48 a.m. the next morning, Adam calls 911. He says that he was getting up to go to the main house because he wanted to go get some coffee, and on his walk back to the main house, he found poor Rebecca hanging from the outside second-story balcony.
An emergency, what are you reporting?
Yeah, I got a girl hung herself in the guest house of, it's on Ocean Boulevard across from the hotel, same place that you came and got the kid yesterday.
The body of Rebecca Zahau was found gagged by a long sleeve blue t-shirt. The body of the t-shirt was wrapped around her neck 3 times, and then the sleeves were found double knotted and stuffed down her throat. She was completely nude, and not only that, her hands and feet were tied and bound together. So Rebecca's body was found hanging by this reddish rope, and the red rope was also the same rope that was used to bound her hands and her feet, and the end of this rope was tied to the end of the bed frame. Adam claims that when he found Rebecca's body like this, he ran to the kitchen to grab a knife, and he grabs a small table so he can cut her body down. After that, he claims he removed the t-shirt from her mouth and her neck and began performing CPR. So apparently, I guess maybe news travels quickly and fast in California, and a helicopter flies over the house to get footage of poor Rebecca, and they actually aired Rebecca there in the yard, deceased and naked. And I mean, you know, it's TV, so they blurred out the body, but they aired that. They aired poor Rebecca looking like that. And, you know, this upset her family greatly, which, understandable. That is just so icky and gross and disrespectful. The medical examiners did not report to the scene until 12 hours after Adam made his 911 call. So for 12 hours, Rebecca's body is just left uncovered in the yard of the Spreckels mansion. The medical examiner that finally came out to examine Rebecca's body determined that this was a death by suicide. I don't know about you guys, but I can definitely tell right off the bat that this was probably not a suicide. The autopsy report shows that she did have injuries to her neck and also fractures on her left arm. She also had multiple bruises and abrasions on her back, arms, and legs. Because of this, the autopsy examiner believes that she didn't go just straight over, that she went over at an angle and kind of hit the trees and bushes that were below the balcony. They did run a toxicology report and they found no drugs or alcohol in her system. Shocker, because, you know, her sister said she was super healthy. Rebecca was not the person to do the drugs or the alcohol. And they also determined that the time of death had to have happened around 3 a.m. So in the bedroom by the bedside post where the rope was tied, there was a garbage bag, a small paintbrush, a larger paintbrush, a kitchen knife, a smaller kitchen knife, and underneath the garbage bag they found a tube of black paint. Above the door in the bedroom, there was a note painted on the wall, and the note was written in black paint, so I mean, I guess that would probably explain the black paint found. And the note said, quote, "She saved him, can you save her?" End quote. What does this note mean? We have no fucking idea. So let's get into more details of the crime scene and everything, shall we? Okay. Let's. Now, the knots that were used to tie her hands and feet together, these knots were very intricate. I'm talking like some shit you'd probably learn in Boy Scouts or something. They're not exactly knots that the everyday average Joe knows how to do. Oh my god. These knots were described as nautical knots. Remember what I said Adam did for a living for the past 12 years? Adam has spent the past 12 years as a tugboat pilot.
Tugboat pilot? Tugboat pilot?
You probably thought it was just some silly little useless fact there at the beginning, but no, I put it in there for a reason. Now, the police department declaims they claim that these knots are not that intricate and they're super pretty easy to do, and it's super possible that Rebecca did these knots herself behind her back. Oh yeah, I don't think I mentioned that earlier. Her hands were not only bound, they were bound behind her back. They found that Rebecca's feet were pretty dirty, the bottom of her feet. The floor on the balcony before the railing had a bunch of dirt on it and whatnot, so this makes sense as to why her feet were dirty. And in the pictures, you can see her toe prints, but there is a little something else along with the toe prints. Did you see it? Yeah, it's boot prints. There's some boot prints there too. When questioned what the hell these boot prints were doing there, police claims that it was a police boot print from when they went and investigated the scene. And I mean, like, okay, cool, whatever. Prove it. Test it. Prove that it was a police boot print. Do you think they tested it? Do you think they tested it? Do you? Guess what? They didn't. They did not test it. I don't know exactly how important this is to the story. I mean, it kind of is. I just kind of felt that this was worth mentioning. A witness did come forward and said that the night of Rebecca's death, she did hear screaming. She believed that it was coming from the mansion. And police didn't take her seriously, or I don't know, they just kind of said like, no, you didn't. It was coming over here from this direction. It's not what you thought it was. That was something else. So pretty much Rebecca's family, just like I'm assuming all of us know and feel it in our hearts that this was not a suicide, contrary to what the police department is trying to say that it is. Whatever. So Rebecca's family, they contact this really high-profile Seattle attorney. Her name is Anne Bremner. After Anne reviewed the details of this case, she immediately agreed with the family that the ruling of Rebecca committing suicide is extremely suspicious. And she not only offered to take on the case, but she did take it pro bono, which when I was reviewing all of this and kind of like writing down my notes, I didn't know what the hell pro bono meant. So I Googled it and I felt like a dum-dum because of it, because I guess that means free. Now I know. So, because Anne was super well connected, she brought in a renowned forensic pathologist. This guy, he has over 17,000 autopsies under his belt. So, like, I would say he's more than qualified. Even though Rebecca had been embalmed, they decided to do a second autopsy. The pathologist noted that there was indeed damage to her neck. He said that while these were consistent with hanging, they weren't exclusively consistent with hanging. He believed that it was most consistent with strangulation. The attorney, Anne, she said that she kind of found it odd that Rebecca's hair was under the noose, which I thought was pretty interesting because it's like one of those little things that you don't really think about, you know? Like, typically women, when we put something over us and it goes over our hair, I know I do it, like, without thinking, you pull your hair out, and her hair wasn't pulled out, so that's just really weird. Both autopsy reports show that there was hemorrhage at the top of Rebecca's head in 4 different areas. The forensic pathologist, he believes that this is from blows to the head. Then we have validity. So for those of you who don't know, validity is the pooling of blood in a body after death. A lot of times it is used to determine the time of death. Validity usually starts happening about 30 minutes after death, and permanent validity can happen 4 to 6 hours after death. So the validity in Rebecca was found in her back. Now, if Rebecca had died from hanging, you know, the validity would be in her legs and her lower limbs. So another doctor, Dr. Goodwin, he was, I guess, just pretty concerned with this boot print that was a police boot print. He actually tested and examined the boot print, and he determined that it was not a police boot print. So the investigators also pointed out that the overall theme and a lot of signs really showed sexual assault. First and foremost being the sign that she was bound and gagged. Another sign was, at the time, Rebecca was on her period. So, on the handle of the bigger knife, there was Rebecca's menstrual blood all around it. It was on all 4 sides of the handle, and one of the police investigators believes the reason it is on all 4 sides is because she was sexually assaulted with this knife. The police department says there is no usable DNA on the knife or at the scene in general. Another thing that was discovered was black paint on Rebecca's body. The black paint was discovered on both of her nipples, like kind of all around it and on the side of it. The investigator said that it looks almost as if someone had tweaked them. I think like pinched them, you know? The investigator said that if she had pinched her own nipples with this black paint, there would be black paint on her fingertips, and there was no black paint on her fingers. They also found a dried black paint mark on her ring finger. The way the pattern looks, it looks as if it was touched with a rubber glove. They also talked about the degrading nature that, Rebecca was found in. Typically, women do not commit suicide naked. And I mean, the fact that she was bound and gagged, it's almost like the whole scene, it almost seems as if someone did this to her, they wanted to humiliate her in her death. Rebecca's sister claims that not only would Rebecca never in a million years commit suicide, she would never in a trillion years commit suicide naked. Rebecca would never, ever, ever want her family to see her that way. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want my family to see me that way either. There was a computer in the guest house and it was investigated. Someone, Adam, searched Asian bondage porn and Asian porn. Adam later does testify that he did search porn the morning of. Also in the guest house where Adam was staying, white, pink, and purple women's underwear was found in the wastebasket. These underwear were not tested. The forensic pathologist, he did not find any fingerprints or DNA of Adam's anywhere in the scene. Another interesting thing though is they found absolutely no fingerprints on the paintbrush. Somebody wrote that note on the wall with a paintbrush, so there's gotta be fingerprints on it, and there were none. So this leads the investigator to believe that it was wiped down. The larger knife that had Rebecca's menstrual blood on it, her fingerprints were found on the knife, but they were only found on the blade part. The investigator also found that the placement of the fingerprints on the blade of the knife were consistent with if Rebecca was trying to use that knife to cut herself free. The smaller knife also had no fingerprints on it, but again, it did have her blood all over the handle. Rebecca's family also hired a handwriting expert, to examine the message that was left at the scene. So this handwriting expert, he examines both Rebecca's handwriting and Adam's handwriting. The expert later testifies that he does believe Adam wrote this message and not Rebecca. One of the main reasons is because of the letter M. Adam, when he writes it, he kind of extends them, and in the message you can kind of see the letter M is a little extended at the bottom and it kind of swooshes down. Also, the writing leans more to the left. When he reviewed both of their handwriting, Adam's writing always leaned towards the left. Rebecca's handwriting always leans towards the right. I think when I write, my handwriting usually leans towards the left. Yeah, it's the left. He also stated that if somebody were to go up to a wall and write something, typically somebody writes at shoulder level. Based on the height of this message, if somebody walked up to it and wrote it at shoulder level, it would be from a person that is about 5'11". Adam is 5'10", and Rebecca was 5'2". In 2012, Rebecca's family filed a $10 million lawsuit to prove that she was murdered and that she did not commit suicide. Besides Adam, the only other possible suspects in this case, if Rebecca was murdered, would be Nina, Dina, and Jonah. Jonah was not there. He was at the hospital, and also Dina and Nina were not at the house at this time. They all have an alibi of being at the hospital. For this civil lawsuit that Rebecca's family is filing, they are claiming that they 100% believe Adam is responsible for the death of Rebecca. The trial began in February of 2018. Rebecca's family claims that the whole point of them doing this case is not for money whatsoever. What they're trying to accomplish is the police station to reopen the case so they can deem it was a murder and not a suicide. They believe that Adam did it, so we don't want want Adam walking free when he committed a murder. The defense's argument, and pretty much their only argument that they had, the only leg they had to stand on, none of Adam's fingerprints or DNA were left at the scene. And they were right, there was none. Another one of the things that was said was when Adam goes to the stand, like when he's called up, he is just, I'm sorry, but he's such a douche. Like, he just has such a nonchalant attitude, and like he just doesn't care. He doesn't show any remorse whatsoever. One of the questions that he was asked was when he made the 911 call, he says, yeah, I've got a woman here that committed suicide. And he was asked, like, you knew who she was, why did you just say, I've got a woman here, if you knew who she was? And his response was, well, she is a woman. I mean, I don't know, I guess maybe if I called 911, I don't know what I would say. I don't know. That one's kind of hard. Rebecca's family's attorney was able to put together a very realistic timeline for what happened that night, and this is the timeline. Rebecca gets out of the shower, and as she's getting out of the shower, a drop of blood drops from her into the shower. They know that she was getting out of the shower because the shower water had been running. This would have ran down the drain, and it didn't run down the drain. It was just a nice, perfect little drop. Once she gets out of the shower, Adam confronts her. Something happens where Rebecca ends up on the other side of the mansion, I'm assuming running away from him. They know this because there is a dropped towel, her cell phone, and a few drops of blood on the other side of the house. He then believes that Adam struck Rebecca 4 times in the head. Because she was hit 4 times in the head, she was knocked unconscious. He proceeds to tie her up, bound her, gag her, and sexually assault her. Then the attorney believes that he strangled her and then hanged her to make the entire scene look like a suicide. As far as Adam's motive, they believe it's because of Max's death. Maybe Adam felt like Rebecca was responsible. I personally don't think that. I think maybe, I mean, it is possible, but I think Adam's just kind of a psychopath. The jury of the civil rights lawsuit determines that Adam is guilty, resulting in Adam owing Rebecca's family over $5 million in damages. Again, the family makes the statement afterwards claiming that it wasn't about the money. They know Adam doesn't have money. His brother has money, Jonah, but Adam has nothing. So their whole motive was just to prove that he murdered Rebecca. To this day, Adam completely denies that he murdered Rebecca, and he does appeal the jury's verdict. In February, the judge dismissed it. In an interview after court, he calls Rebecca's whole family posers. I don't know why or like what that even means. Like how are Rebecca's family, what? The sheriff's department did end up reopening the case to investigate it, and once again, they determined that it was a suicide. As far as Jonah goes, Jonah claims that he did want the case reopened because he did agree that it was suspicious and that Rebecca probably didn't commit suicide. However, he does not believe that his brother was responsible, which I kind of think is a lie, and he paid for Adam's attorney. This case is so incredibly aggravating and frustrating because I don't know about you guys, I 100% believe that Adam murdered her. I think he sexually assaulted her and then murdered her. I believe that versus Rebecca was just torn up about what happened to Max, couldn't live with herself anymore, so she decided to get naked, gag herself, tie her hands and feet up, and then with her hands and feet tied up, get up onto the railing and then jump off. I mean, that doesn't even make any sense to me. But that is the sad and unfortunate story of Rebecca Zahau and also Max, poor little Max. I sometimes feel like, as I was like searching and writing my notes throughout this case, I feel like he's forgotten a lot, and you know, that's also extremely tragic too. Let me know what you guys think. What do you think happened? Do you think that she was murdered by Adam? Do you think she was murdered by somebody else? Or do you think she killed herself and took her own life? One thing I found out while I was writing my notes about this case is one of the main things I didn't understand was who ties their hands before they commit suicide. Apparently apparently that is known as a thing to do, just so people can't escape. That's really sad. That breaks my heart. I'm gonna cry. But yeah, I would definitely love to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments down below. I truly love so much hearing what you guys think and your opinions of it. When I did my last video, I was constantly asking people what they thought of the case, and I love hearing what people have to say. So please let me know down in the comments below. That is the story, and that is it for me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the makeup look I created. I don't know. These rhinestones I thought was gonna be a super cool idea, and it took me forever. I don't know that I'll do it again. I probably will, but I've got to give myself way more time. Please be safe out there, you guys. Please just like watch your surroundings and watch who you hang around. Like, I don't know, you can't trust anybody. I think I've said this like 3 times now, but thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll catch you on the flippity flip. Why do I do this? Okay, I'm signing off now. Bye.